Hello, my name is Jordana Cipriano, and this is my Big Ideas number 3 assignment for Psychology F111X. Let's get right into it. For my first big idea, I want to talk about heuristics and biases in decision making, or the mental shortcuts that shape how I make decisions. Heuristics are quick rules of thumb that help me make judgments efficiently, but they can also lead to predictable mistakes, what psychologists call biases. For example, the anchoring effect happens when the first piece of information I hear influences later decisions, even if it's irrelevant. The framing effect, on the other hand, shows how I might make different choices depending on how information is presented, like whether a statistic sounds like a gain or a loss. These ideas come from researchers like Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky. I hope I pronounced those correctly. Who demonstrated that humans aren't purely rational thinkers, we often rely on mental shortcuts that can mislead us. In reference to how I can apply this to my personal life, I suppose I could be more aware of how I make everyday decisions. For example, when I'm shopping online, which I totally don't do a lot, probably, I often fall for limited time sales because of framing and urgency cues. One of the biggest ones I can think of is if you've ever used Temu, and it constantly throws these very obviously like fake or predatory features or limited time sales your way when you try to use the app. I know it's not the most humane way of shopping, but it was just the first example that came to my mind. Um, Knowing this helps me pause before buying impulsively. Personally, this matters because I sometimes take the first piece of feedback as the anchor when problem solving. Now, I guess with this information I've gotten from this chapter, I'll try to gather multiple perspectives before making decisions. Understanding my biases helps me slow down and engage what psychologists call system two thinking, the more deliberate and logical part of my mind. So, the second big idea is emotional intelligence and its role in success, very much like the discussion post that I just completed. It stood out to me because it was very interesting to see the difference between EI or emotional intelligence and IQ. So, emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage emotions, both my own and other people's. It includes self awareness, self regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. Researchers like Daniel Goldman and Travis Bradbury argue that while IQ measures reasoning ability, EI is what determines how well I function in relationships and workplaces. It's the emotional and social side of intelligence that helps me communicate, manage stress, and make sound decisions even when I'm under pressure. So in my own personal life, I can clearly see how emotional intelligence affects me. Like, for example, when assignments or the amount of assignments I have feels stressful, I've learned to manage my frustration instead of reacting impulsively. Perhaps frustration is the wrong word. I would say, like, being overwhelmed, but I digress. Being able to control such is self regulation in action. I also try to be empathetic when I face things that frustrate me or people that frustrate me. I'll try to talk to the individual or individuals privately instead of assuming they don't care or assuming the worst of somebody if I just don't understand the situation. These moments remind me that being emotionally intelligent helps create better teamwork, communication, which are skills I need in any career, and also just kind of makes my life easier because I won't be stressing over things that really don't need to be stressed over. My third and final big idea is the difference between fluid and crystallized intelligence. So, fluid intelligence is my ability to solve new problems and think on my feet. It's flexible and useful in unfamiliar situations. Crystallized intelligence, on the other hand, is based on knowledge and experience that I've built up over time, such as vocabulary or learned skills. Psychologists Raymond Cattell and John Horn show that fluid intelligence tends to decrease with age, while crystallized intelligence usually increases. Both types are important, but they help me succeed in different ways. Fluid intelligence helps with adaptability, and crystallized intelligence supports long term expertise. So personally, I can apply this by recognizing which kind of thinking I'm using. For example, if I'm learning something new, I can rely on fluid intelligence to figure out what I'm doing or how something works. But when I'm writing essays or explaining concepts I've already studied, I use crystallized intelligence to draw on what I know. Professionally, this awareness reminds me that lifelong learning strengthens both types of intelligence. I can keep my mind sharp by challenging myself with new experiences, while also continuing to deepen my existing knowledge base. And I also find it very interesting that fluid intelligence tends to decrease with age because I have noticed that older individuals are way less interested in entertaining the idea of change, but they are also very knowledgeable. So the fluid intelligence and crystallized intelligence concept really kind of spoke to me. Overall, these ideas, heuristics, and biases, emotional intelligence, and the two types of intelligences being fluid and crystallized help me understand myself better as both a thinker and a learner. They remind me that smart decisions aren't just about logic, but also emotions, awareness, and adaptability. By practicing emotional control, questioning my biases, and staying curious, I can continue developing both my rational and emotional strengths.